So today I saw a movie that technically comes out on the 14th, but you know how they always play movies the day before they actually open for like one showing on Thursdays now. It's a whole thing. It used to be midnights, and then they're like, you know what, people are tired. Let's just do it at 7 and still call it a Friday release. I love that because I like to go to bed. This was Paul Feig's A Simple Favor. I like Paul Feig. I like almost everything I've seen from him, if not everything I've seen from him. I was sort of like on the fence about Bridesmaids, but everything else I've enjoyed. And I love Freaks and Geeks, so I always look forward to seeing him do films. And the thing that's great about him as a director is like he's almost the latter day George Cukor. They called George Cukor a women's director, sort of almost as an insult, but not quite. But George Cukor always was able to direct women well and had films filled with women, and he was just a great storyteller of films by and about and for women. And Paul Feig does similar task where he has lots of women in his films. This is a film that stars two women, Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. But one thing I really noticed about this film, and a good way, sad that I noticed it, but it's not the film's fault that it was noticeable, but the rest of the films that are released that made it noticeable. That is, in most films directed by men, there are less than 50% of the cast are women. It tends to be somewhere around 33%. And you are more likely in films directed by women to have the cast made up of more women or an equal amount, or to make it feel like real life where women are like 55%, right? So many of the minor characters that could have been men, insurance people and cops and other things, were women. And so there were an actual, like, it felt like real life, the amount of women that were in this film. It was shocking. Not to mention, that the two leads are women. So that was great. So the film stars Anna Kendrick as a mommy vlogger. She is a single mom. You find out why she's a single mom as the film progresses. Her son has befriended a fellow student whose mother is played by Blake Lively. Blake Lively is a PR director for a fashion designer who, there are some great burns about him. Anna Kendrick delivers like an all-time burn in this movie. They become friends and start drinking martinis, and she meets her new friend's husband, played by Henry Golding, in his second film. I'm not sure which one he filmed first, whether he filmed this or Crazy Rich Asians first, but these are his, first two big films. Nice to have two hits sort of right out of the park there. And right away you see that things are both passionate and a little strange between the husband and wife. And Anna Kendrick's character, Stephanie, is just sort of trying to be, this friend, and she's sort of the uncool friend. Although, the other thing that I really liked about this film was that everybody in it has issues, and I don't want to spoil any of it, but the one thing I will say is it, on the surface, appears to be the rote Madonna whore, good girl, bad girl film, and it's not. It's really not. That's refreshing that neither of the women were wholly good and neither of the women were wholly bad. That is so refreshing. And the men were almost inconsequential, except that it's Henry Golding and he's beautiful. But, he could have, been a fish. It's fine. So in the course of their friendship, she starts occasionally helping out, picking up the kid from school, etc., etc. And one day she's taking him home, and the Blake Lively's character, Emily, just disappears, and you don't hear from her, and you don't hear from her, and after a few days goes by, her husband comes back from London, and she's still not back, and the rest of the film is why did she disappear, how did she disappear, and peeling layer after layer after layer of this onion. And I don't want to spoil it because there were a lot of twists, and probably Um, some of you maybe will know the twists in advance. I am always terrible at knowing what is going to happen next. I love thrillers for that reason because I'm always like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming, even if I maybe should have. Mostly because if it's well done, I'm so sucked in to the performances and the story that I'm not thinking about what's coming next. This is also why I'm bad at chess. Because I'm just like looking at what I'm doing and I can't think um, steps ahead. Don't play chess with me unless, well, I guess do, and then you can win. Beautiful fashion. I guess it's all Marc Jacobs. I do love Marc Jacobs. So beautiful clothing. It's just a really well made, not quite erotic thriller. There's some erotic elements, um, but I wouldn't quite call it an erotic thriller. But it's just a really well made um, thriller. It's gonna be called Hitchcockian. I think aspects of it felt very like a Almodovar, but when Almodovar is doing Hitchcock, so like Hitchcock through the lens of a Almodovar, if you will, which is enjoyable. So Hitchcock to a Almodovar to Feig, I guess. Good stuff. It's written by Jessica Sharzer, who also wrote many episodes of The L Word. It's based on a novel by Darcy Bell. Apparently, this novel was optioned to become a movie before it was even published. That happens. I have not read the book. I am looking forward to it because I suspect from several of the scenes that were truncated. I'm not going to say it wasn't like it's 2 hours long and it feels 2 hours long, but in a good 2 hours. But there were definitely some threads in the film that I think probably in a book are more fleshed out. So I'm hesitant to call them like plot holes because they're not. There's just more like I know there was more. Like that you're given enough for the film to make sense, but I know in a book there would be more. So I'm always into that. I'm gonna have to track this book down. What else? What else? I just really liked it. I think like Anna Kendrick is so good, and she hasn't had a big lead in anything in a while. But you know she was an Oscar nominee, and she's just always good. And it's just shocking that she's in so few films. Blake Lively is just chewing scenery in this movie in all the best ways. Very into the scenery chewing. There are some nice surprise moments with Jean Smart, who's always good, and what is her name from Freaks and Geeks? I just forgot her name. Hold on, we're looking it up. Why wasn't her name right away? This is hard. Linda Cardellini. Always good to see Linda Cardellini in a role. I quite enjoyed. So, and it gets a little gay, so that's always good. Like, just having a little gayness in a film, I appreciate. So I enjoyed this. It was really fun to watch with an audience because twists and turns and there's some lines that are just really funny. And so seeing it with an audience and getting to laugh and go and things like that with a group of people is like the ultimate movie going experience. So I definitely recommend seeking this one out in theaters for that group experience, but also to support a film and a filmmaker like Paul Feig, who is really walking the walk with his talk of equality in Hollywood. He is filling women throughout his film in both minor roles, lead roles, behind the scenes. He's definitely somebody who's like, yo, I have some power. I'm going to do better for the world with it. So I appreciate that. So this is A Simple Favor. It is in theaters now. I thought it was very good. It's not like end of the year top 10 good, but it's definitely like if every sort of popcorn film were this good, Hollywood would not feel so boring. Like you shouldn't just have good movie season and bad movie season. Like all movies should be good, you know, well made, interesting. This was a well made, interesting film. I miss there's genres that don't really exist anymore. Like or if there are, thrillers, they're all, made for TV thrillers, or there's a lot of thrillers on television just in general now. I guess you can't like bemoan made for TV anymore because prestige TV, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like direct to video type feeling thrillers are what really exist in this genre other than television. And seeing just a good thriller was, for lack of a better word, thrilling. So this is A Simple Favor. I enjoyed it. Go see it. I think you'll like it too.